Casey Harmano here. I'm fascinated by guitars. I'm a guitar enthusiast, and the thought of what kind of woods has come up, and I've seen instructional videos and whatnot that talk about tone woods, and you know the names out there. Scott Grove, I'll just drop those names. Will's Easy Guitar, and what's a guy, Duncan, and then there, of course, the opponents of them on this whole Tonewood controversial topic. And I've watched a lot of those videos, but I don't know if I've gotten all the information, so I have some questions maybe I could take a shortcut on, or maybe these are just things people have not thought of. So I have some notes here I'll be looking at. I want to keep this so I'm not rambling on, losing track of where I'm at. I barely know what all guitar terms are. I don't make guitars, and I'm not a professional player. So let me get that out of the way, okay? I'm not claiming to be an expert. I've been playing for years, and I've tinkered with guitars a little bit, so I have some knowledge of guitars. I don't even know all the terms, like I said. I think I'm smarter than the average person. In fact, I know I am, and my line of work requires careful analysis. That's just a fact. I'm capable of analyzing things very carefully. I mean, I've had a doctor today just compliment me on how I could pick up a procedure really quick, that I was supposed to take a shot, and I, picked it up. Part of my analysis to ask the right questions and consider all the information before reporting on it, but I do think it have some insights that might have not have been discussed in this controversial topic. I also want to, when I'm reading this, might want to add that this is just for entertainment purposes, my own fun and entertainment, and just my learning about guitars. So if I was actually doing a report on this, where money was relied on it, or a job or something, I would not be doing this. I would wait until I knew everything about it before I even said anything. So I don't know everything about it. In fact, I have questions about it. I have seen a few videos about tone woods. I'm not familiar with the concept of tone woods for guitar construction. I don't really know exactly what tone woods are. I know it's wood, special wood selected. Some people say it's like from Brazil or something, but I don't know if it's just like maple versus mahogany, because I see this comparison. I see a guy comparing just particle board practically with maple, or something like that, and it's like, well, is that tone wood or not? So so I want to know what the characteristics of it would. Generally, would you say tone wood is a harder wood, more dense, or is it softer? Is it porous? Maybe there's something I'm missing here in this whole thing that would be cool to know about. So if you think the wood is so important, why not get a hollow body guitar? I think that's the biggest thing I've got with the tone wood thing, is like, I would think that if you wanted a guitar that sounded really sweet and sounded rounded out, or just had a characteristics that you could hear while you're playing guitar, it would be a hollow body guitar, or a semi-hollow like a Les Paul, something like that. So I mean, I'm just fascinated with the idea of making a guitar that doesn't sound like your average guitar, that has a distinct sound. So this is kind of important to me if I decide to ever make a guitar and sell them or something in the future, because I'm fascinated. When I retire, I might do this. Just make a few custom guitars or something, or help with some of that, sell them maybe. But that's one of the things, is just hollow bodies. Why not hollow bodies? Why not semi-hollow bodies? Like, that sounds fascinating for me. If you want sustain and more harmonic timbre, wouldn't the hardest wood possible be desired? I just think that, now I wrote down, string vibration is converted to sound via magnetic pickups, then the signal is amplified. So pickups are crucial. If you can't hear the sound of the guitar acoustically louder when unplugged comparing to another wood, I would think the quieter would be more desirable. Okay, so what I'm saying is that you strum a guitar unplugged, and then you hear that very quiet sound of a solid body guitar. If you hear one guitar is louder than the other when you're strumming it, I would consider the louder one to have certain traits that you don't want, and the choir one to have traits you want. So if you like a wide spectrum of timbre, especially in the higher ranges, I think you would want a more solid piece of wood, like a plexiglass, high density plexiglass might be ideal for that, or a piece of steel, very hard substance. Would be desired because you have more sustain. I think that's the whole point why people make solid body guitars. That is part of the benefit of it, is more sustain. Your notes last longer. So that doesn't make sense in my scheme of things why your wood would matter. You just want as hard as you can that's not so hard that you can't hold it, or it's so hard that you can't, it takes forever to shape the guitar and cut it and all that stuff. And so I think I heard Scott Groves say that basswood was really easy to work with, and so I think that's a valid point. So then he says, if the so-called Tonewood is more expensive, is it worth the extra cost if you can just adjust the EQ? And I'm going to get into that later on with the Chapman proof video that I saw. So that's what I'm just thinking is like, wow, would you pay $1,000 for something where you could just go over and reach over and adjust something on your EQ, or just adjust your tone or your bass, or get more bassy pickups? You know, it seems to make more sense to me to do that. What's so magical about it? And you know, like another one is, I've heard people say, "Oh, your basswood guitar sounds like crap." I don't like to use bad words, but you know, they say your basswood guitar sounds like crap. Well, no, not really. I mean, what? How many guitars out there are made of basswood that, you know, people use that sound great? So this whole bit, like, this guitar sounds horrible, I don't think that's the real genuine reason why people buy Tonewoods. I think they like the guitar they have, but when they seek out a Tonewood guitar, they're trying to get the optimal. They're like a professional musician that is trying to get the best possible sound, and they don't want to spare any expense. They don't want to think, maybe I don't have as best a wood as I can get. And so there's competition out there, and that's good. I think that we should seek out the right wood. I'm fascinated with that. But if it's something that's, we should just tell the truth about it, you know, what is irrelevant. Now let's go to the Chapman proof video. Oh, and by the way, I guess I should mention, yeah, I'm probably going to leave the comments open, but if it gets crazy, I'm probably going to disable the comments. I'm not really into arguing back and forth with people, so if I don't respond to you, please don't be offended. I just don't like arguing with people. That's not what I'm here for. I am looking forward to some interesting responses and maybe a little bit of debate about it, but not much. Chapman proof video comments. First, I don't really hear significant difference. Yeah, they did mention one sounded a little bit, you know, Chapman sounded a little bit more warmer, but really fundamentally they don't sound like two different kinds of guitars, right? I mean, if you had a SG and then you had a Strat, you know, or a Tele, you can hear the difference between those two. So, okay, so if you're going to pay $1,000 more for a guitar, is it really going to matter that much, you know? So they do sound close, and they even say, you know, it's so close that it's like an EQ tweak. Like I said, it's just a little EQ tweak. They also clarify that they don't think the guitar is superior. I'm reading the notes here. It's just a matter of preference. I don't see them as promoting it. They're just proving something I think that everybody already knows, that there is a difference in sound. I don't think anybody's agreeing. I think that's already been said by others, that this is not really a perfect experiment. You know, they have different player and different thing. So when I get into my comments, it's going to be kind of obvious, but I'm going to list the reasons in order of importance. This is really important because it's almost exponentially less important as I go down. In fact, it becomes almost irrelevant probably, and you'll see. So the first thing is pickups, pickups, pickups. Okay, if you have two different pickups, they do not sound the same. I think you can prove that. I've noticed that with my guitars. You know, I'll have a Strat here, like a Squire Strat here, and another Squire Strat here, and they're adjusted the same. You got the same strings, and you play one, and it sounds slightly different than the other. Pickups are so picky. That's why I call them pickups, right? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, pickup design might be the same. You know, the brand, the stock, everything might be the same, but they could be different. And so that you need to really, it's not a valid test. It's not really a valid test. But in fact, it kind of does prove that they do sound identical in a way. I mean, they didn't strum individual notes and just start playing. You have to hit individual notes and listen to how loud it is. Listen for the sustain. You have to be very scientific, and that was hardly even scientific. They just went through it, and I think the reason. Now, I'm not bashing them. I think that they're smart. I think they know it's not that relevant. They just wanted to get that out of the way. Like, let's see this. If these sound the same, that's it. It's for fun. You know, folks, it's for fun. And they're doing it just to kind of show, yeah, this sounds a little bit different. You know, it's true that the wood does sound different. You know, that's their opinion. I'm not sure if I agree with them 100%. Like, I'm still trying to figure this out. So then the strings. Strings are very important too. If you have a brand new pair of strings and you start jamming on one of those, within a few minutes, it's going to start changing the tone. That's one of the things I want to really look into with guitars is how they behave. Because I might have a tip for people on how to adjust your guitar. Like, it might not be a good idea to set up your guitar with brand new strings because they might tend to make more fret buzz than strings that have been around for a while. You know, that's just one of the things, and you don't want to intonate your guitar with fresh strings because they might be sharper than used strings. So maybe you should jam with them a little bit, you know, play them a little bit before you start checking the intonation on them. I'm not sure if that's common knowledge or not. Like I said, I've tried to set up an intonation on a guitar one time. I'm not sure if I've kind of like adjusted the action a little bit one time. I don't think I did a very good job at it. I haven't even found my little wrench to adjust my truss rod yet. Okay, number 3. Surprise, surprise, the wood. But one caveat. What if you took 2 of the same kind of wood? It's 2 exact same batch. You have one batch of, the same factory that made this wood, same wood store, whatever you call it. Same, what do you call that? Stockyard where you get the wood, and you go and get the wood stock. One's there, it's the same thing, it's mahogany. Another one, you take it, and then you test those 2 woods, and you say, hey, do these 2 woods sound different? So if the variation between 2 of the same kind of wood are just the same as the difference between one and the other, like another kind of wood like ash or maple or whatever that was, the other one was, I forgot. If you take those 2 and you see the variation between individual woods of the same kind is the same as if it was with other, then you have disproven Tonewood. Tonewood definitely does not matter. What you're doing is you're just blowing up hot air because, not a very good term, but you're blowing hot air, You're just basically spinning your wheels and you're trying to get better wood when actually you could make it worse. Like if you had an ash guitar and you said, oh, I'm not happy with this, I want to get better, you might actually get something that's worse because it's random, Different players can sound different. This could be very important if they were being tricky. I don't think they were being dishonest. Like I said, I think they were being straight. I think it was a valid video as far as what they wanted to do. Different players can sound different. One guy could play slightly closer to the neck than the other, and that little bit of difference can make that kind of a difference that you see. I suspect that that's not an issue. You might want to go back and review the video. I might want to go back and look at it and see where they're picking, but it's 2 different people playing. There might be other factors in just, the density of their fingers. One guy might be thinner than the other, and maybe he's hitting bum notes, or I don't know. I'm not sure if the actual human being playing matters that much. Maybe it matters when they're bending notes and stuff, but I don't know if that's a big deal or not because it's metal. Its frets are made of metal, so that's a huge thing. That's another thing too. That's number 5 is the hardware could be mounted different. The frets might not be, some of the frets might not be mounted the same way. The bridge might not be tightened down good enough. There might be loose bolts somewhere. Who knows? You don't know. It's not the same guitar. You don't know if one of them, the cute guy, was done by one guy, another guy was done by another guy, and one guy, he forgot to tighten down something. And with Strat type guitars and with those really complicated guitars, the tremolo, whammy bar type of thing, you can end up with a totally crummy guitar because somebody didn't tighten down something right, something loose in there, the bolt, the spring or something is out of place inside one of the pickups. You know, if the pickups aren't mounted right, pickups could be vibrating against something. That's another thing. I'm running about out of time, but that's another thing that I wanted to say about guitars. Is I noticed the Strat, the pickups are mounted to the plastic, whatever that is. What's that? What's there? Usually made of some kind of laminate or whatever. I don't know anything about plastics, but so it's mounted to the plastic, I think. And I'm like, wow, I was blown away when I first saw that. I'm like, wow, what if the plastic vibrates really good? Won't it get feedback and things like that? And here we're putting, you know, we're what do you call that? Oh, anyway, I'm getting in a tangent. So that's you know, one of the things I was thinking about was if I wanted to really make a guitar sound good, one of the first things I want to improve is on a Strat is mounting those pickups on something solid. I don't know how I'd do it, but maybe there's some way you could make it so that those things, or just run a strip of thicker plastic or wood, glue it on the inside of the pickup guard to make that pickup guard. And I saw that one video where, was it Will's Easy Guitars using the amp, and he's changing the tone, and you see the salt vibrating on it. And you saw that middle part of the pickup guard just going, and those little pieces of salt vibrating, and they're pretty darn good. And I was thinking, see, yeah, I think that's the first thing I'd fix if I was worried about making guitar perfect. And that's another issue, too, is I'm not even sure if I really care that much about that. I'm fascinated with it, but for my own personal thing, I think a plain old Strat's perfectly fine. There's a couple little things I don't, some things that kind of annoy me. Like I said, the pickguard kind of annoys me on the Strat, and you know, just a couple other little things. But other than that, you know, it's fine, I guess. You know, you just got to get a decent one. Those, you know, nice hardware is nice. Having those locking tuners on there is good. Having decent, you know, Alnico pickups, wherever they call those, and having, you know, decent electronics on there, that's good to have, you know. So it seems to me the rest of the stuff is not as big of a deal. As long as you got a straight neck, you got a straight neck. As long as you got a good body and it's, you know, made right, you know, and everything's hooked up right, I think it's fine. So that's it. Maybe I'm just not a stickler as some people are. Who knows? You know, I'll find out as I get different guitars and try them. I think I've got 7 guitars, and I've had, throughout my history, I've had probably 8 or 9 different guitars in my past. I've had Ibanez, I've had just a Fender Strat, it was like a Japanese Strat, I've had a Squire Affinity Strat, I've got a Steinberger Synapse, I've got one of those Coral sitar guitars, I think it's made by Cort. I've got Jagmaster, Squire Jagmaster, I think. And I find the biggest thing is just the electronics, is the pickups is the biggest gripe I have with them. I like single coils, but they tend to kind of pick up your bad playing too, I think, maybe. Or maybe it's the opposite, I don't know. The way the pickups are, like those 3 pickups on a Strat, sometimes bother me, you know, but that's about it.